Sense Matters. Hi, ladies.
Good morning. A frosty good morning to everyone. Welcome. I am your host, Sandy Rice. Before we start on today's topic, I just wanted to clarify one item from our last show on book bans. Public libraries are not subject to the Tennessee law regarding books banned in public schools K through 12. You can request any banned book from the public library. Now, they may not have it in their collection, but it has not been removed from the shelf under any directive. On to today's show. Today we have some very special guests from the Franklin County School Board. Sarah Lichty from District 6 and Clejo Walker from the 8th District, and she is also chair. Correct? Welcome, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning. We're going to continue our discussion of the Education Freedom Act of 2025, previously the Education Savings Account, and more commonly known as vouchers. Liv Cook from Public School Strong was with us last month. This is an unpopular plan. County school boards, including ours, county commissions, teachers' organizations, as well as the public across the state have opposed vouchers. Today we'll look at some other aspects of the bill with our experts, Sarah and Clejo. So what are the main points of the bills going to the special legislative session? That would be House Bill 1 and Senate Bill 1.
Well, briefly, the bill would provide state-funded scholarships in the amount of $7,075 per student. Now, this is a base pay per student that the TISA funding formula allocates for each student in the public schools. Now, the key here is that public schools only receive $4,952.50 per student from the state, which is 70% of the total, and our local government has to fund the other 30%, whereas the vouchers are totally funded by state money. The first year of the program, there's 20,000 scholarships or vouchers that will be available. A note here is students that attend independent homeschools and umbrella church-related homeschools will not be eligible for the vouchers. 10,000 of these vouchers will be reserved for families with income of 300% of the income limit to qualify for free or reduced lunch, or children with disabilities. If you use this formula, a family of 4 could make up to $173,000 per year and still qualify for this first 10,000 vouchers.
Wow. I never made that much.
Yeah, I know. The other 10,000 slots have no income limits, so anyone who chooses to do so can go ahead and put their name in for those. They're requiring a standardized test be given in grades 3 through 11 in the private schools that accept this money, but the private school chooses what tests they would like to give. It's not mandated that they take the TCAP test as public schools have to do, so you can't make any comparisons really there.
As to the quality of the education provided.
And again, students that have special needs, they're not guaranteed an individualized educational program at all.
Like the public schools.
Like the public schools have.
Are required to.
My guess is they probably won't even accept students with disabilities, nor will they accept students who are discipline problems or students who have poor attendance records. That's just my opinion on that. There's a provision in there that guarantees that state funding for the school district would not decrease from the previous school year so that disenrollment would not affect our funding. I don't know how long that would last. I don't know what that's going to look like.
That has not been spelled out in anything that I've read or heard, that the funding for the local districts would not decrease. But let's put in parentheses that probably the vast majority of students, of families who receive this money are not in public schools this year anyway, so the money going to those schools would not be reflected in anything that would be transferred back to the local district.
Well, and you can also do a scenario where if a student goes to a private school, takes the voucher money, stays part of the year, decides they don't like that anymore and comes back to the public school, then we are educating the student and the money is at the private school.
And we didn't get money in the base rate for that student to start with, but the private school will keep the money.
It's only the biggest unknown is how many children in public school will switch to a private school.
Exactly.
Especially in rural areas where we don't have private schools.
Right. Oh,
So-
and that I was going to get to that in just a
I'm
second.
sorry.
It's okay. Each teacher is going to get a $2,000 bonus, and that's a one-time bonus as far as we know. That I think would be better put into the salary plan than as a bonus.
And that is intended primarily to sway the vote of the legislatures in Tennessee. It's not really intended to influence teachers one way or the other. They don't have a vote, but in their local districts, their local representatives hopefully will not be impacted by that, but that's the goal, that they will be influenced by that money to their teachers.
Right. Also, beginning in the school year 25-26, there's a new dedicated funding source for construction and maintenance of public school buildings. And that's coming from 80% of the privilege taxes from sports wagering in the state of Tennessee. Now, that amount is estimated to be somewhere around $77 million. However, it's noteworthy. Previously, this money was going toward Hope Scholarship.
Yeah.
So that's just shifting funds around, and I'm not sure it's shifting them in the right way. The $77 million is great, but it's not going to go all that far when you try to do some kind of construction, or if you have a devastation like we've had, here in Tennessee. It may help, but it's not going to help a lot.
If we could get a figure, and it's out there, on the amount of infrastructure improvement needed in the state of Tennessee, we would quickly recognize that won't be.
It would be earth-shattering.
Because it can cost $60 million now to build one elementary
Exactly.
school.
Well, one source that I had looked at that gave a lot of figures for the attended costs said that because of the backlog, for us to bring our public schools throughout the state up would be $9.8 billion.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you see, that's not going to go very far.
The $77 million will not go very far against $9.8 billion.
That's like a couple of rolls of duct tape.
The scholarship funds are tax exempt, obviously, and they are to be deposited, as I have read, directly with the school that the student intends to attend. And it would be first toward tuition, and if there were any left, then they could spend it for anything else that the student needed as far as educational needs were concerned. If 75% of these vouchers are claimed in any given year, the next year the state would extend 5,000 more vouchers. So it would grow.
Okay, that's important.
It would grow. Now, to your point a while ago, out of Tennessee's 95 counties, only 44 of them even have local private schools that are eligible to accept vouchers. And 51 of the counties don't have eligible schools at all. Mm-hmm. And if you look at those that do have, we've got about 300 eligible schools in the state. 50% of those are located in Davidson, Hamilton, and Shelby County.
Well,
and they already have a voucher program.
Yeah, that's the
ESA.
pilot.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So I think that answers. But there, here again, we've got 100% of Tennesseans required to fund this program.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
When
for
a
the
lot of the
cities,
counties don't
these
even
are
have.
counties with large
exactly,
cities.
and for students who are already in private schools.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So.
So how has this plan worked out in other states?
In other states, it has devastated the budgets. Without mentioning every state, I will tell you that Arizona has been significantly impacted. For instance, $429 billion additional costs were expected in the year 2024.
$429
million. Arizona has had to make critical state programs has had to make cuts in these. Among those, which I think is significant, the $330 million that was needed for water infrastructure has had to be cut from their budget. Every citizen in Arizona will feel that. Some more data from Arizona. 71.2% of the students who are utilizing these vouchers never attended public schools to start with. It's estimated to cost at the end of December 23, the estimated cost $780 $499 million in the state of Arizona. That falls drastically short of what we are currently talking about in Tennessee. In Indiana, have a similar program. It had 3,911 students in 2011. It has expanded to include over 70,000 students. In 2011, students only qualified for a voucher if their family of four made around $40,000 a year. Today, the same family qualifies, making $222,000 a year. And initially, that program cost $15.5 million. It now costs over $300 million, with a projected increase to top over $600 million this year. That's in Indiana. And almost everyone qualifies. That's Indiana. I talked a little bit about North Carolina because a family of four in North Carolina that has an income of approximately $260,000 a year qualify for the North Carolina voucher.
It sounds like, Sarah, in one of them where you said it started out at income of $40,000. I think this whole plan was to help poor students, working families, but it sounds like it's...
Well, that was the pitch. That was
the original pitch.
That was the pitch, that this money will help families that would not otherwise have the means to move their child from one school to one they felt like was more appropriate or more effective. But realistically, when you look at the tuition at most of our private schools, if you don't have any money to add to the $7,000, you probably are not going to be able to attend.
Because it's 10, 15,
$20,000, and expenses exceed tuition. And you mentioned
we were
that.
just talking about
we were talking
the
about
extras, the hidden costs of uniforms and activity fees and transportation.
I think too, it was in the name of these poor children who were stuck in low-performing schools. Because that's the school that they were zoned for in the urban areas. You know, here in our county, we have school choice. We're open zoned. If you provide your own transportation and there is room for you in a school that you're not zoned for, then you are free to go there. So that doesn't even apply to us, I don't think.
Another interesting point happening, or that has happened around our country recently, is that states where this legislation was put on the ballot, it was defeated. The voters are not in favor, the majority of the voters are not in favor of spending state money for private schools or vouchers. That happened in Kentucky, that happened in Nebraska, and that's also happened in Colorado.
Okay.
States, when given voters, taxpayers, when given that option to vote on it, have voted that option down.
And we don't have that option.
We were not given that option.
Well,
no.
Someone decided some years ago that the citizens of Tennessee weren't smart enough to vote themselves that has a referendum, I think is what you hear about, in the news. So we are totally a representative government where we don't get to vote on this. We have to work through our representatives.
And I want to say that, and Cleo certainly mentioned this as she discussed the TISA and the funding and this actual bill, but we need to look closely, based on those figures in other states, at the long-term funding uncertainty for our public schools. That's not being addressed in anything that I have read or that we've talked about, other than we know it has exploded. I saw where Florida's cost a couple of years ago was $1.4 billion. That's a lot of money. So the extended cost, again, the school, the $70 million wouldn't go far in addressing our backlog of school needs. The uneven testing and the lack of accountability, which is what it would amounts to. Our money is being spent, taxpayer money is being spent to private schools without the level of accountability that public schools are required and want to provide. Public schools are accountable. They want to be accountable to the constituents, the taxpayers, the community members. Private schools have a different accountability and testing. And the students that are included versus excluded, private schools do not have to take children with an IEP. Private schools do not have to take children.
I'm sorry, IEP?
Individualized Education Program.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I'm doing that for everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. They do not have to take special needs children who have a document that came about under Public Law 94-142. It is a federal law. Any child in the state of Tennessee who is eligible for that, and in fact who has that umbrella of support in our public schools, will give up that right should they attend a private school. Private schools do not have to take children with English as a second language. Private schools do not have to take children who have demonstrated emotional behavior or behavioral challenges. So they will cherry pick who gets to come to the schools, and public schools have and always will educate everyone who comes our way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, it appears that other states have had significant financial problems, and just common sense says that trying to provide two separate programs for education, a private and a public option, must be difficult for the state government. So the reason people are thinking we need to do this, I hear that public schools are failing. Are we failing?
No.
Okay.
No, we are not failing. No, we are not failing. And if you look at some of the most recent data comparing how private schools are doing versus how public schools are doing, we are exceeding what private schools are doing in achievement. And that's what we're about. We're about a lot of other things too. But if we measure achievement, what our students are able to gain exceeds what many private schools have been able to document.
One thing in personal conversations that I've heard is the safety of public schools, because we have a real mix of things. There are maybe some behavior problems. You want to address that?
Yes, I actually attempted to make a list last night of, and I can only speak to Franklin County. I can only speak about our students and our programs. But in Franklin County, what we have done recently is make the entrance to our buildings much safer by masking the doors. There is a second route into the building, but rather than walking in and going straight to the office or straight to the secretary, there is an alcove. There's a double entry procedure in every school. We have cameras in every school. We have shatterproof film on exterior glass. Of course, our exterior doors are locked. Our classroom doors are locked. We have drills, not just shooter drills, but we have fire drills and weather drills. We have evacuation plans in place. We have teacher training. We have a law enforcement, not our county, but also some of the city, the Estill Springs, the Winchester, Cowan, all work cohesively to support one another. And they have been trained extensively, and they have learned from previous events that have put in place some strategies to make us much safer should that happen. We have SROs. We have an SRO in every building.
That's a safety resource officer.
And we actually have 2 at our high school. I'm not sure at Huntland. Do we have 2 at
I think there's 2 there, too.
There's probably 2 in Huntland also. And we were one of the first in the state to put SROs in place. These people not only are there to provide safety, they do a lot of counseling, they do a lot of interacting with students. You'll see them having lunch in the cafeterias, you'll see them talking to kids in the hall. They add a layer of safety that is quite valuable. If we look at what's inside of our buildings, I've talked about outside. If we look at what's inside of the buildings, again, cameras play a part in that. Hall monitors. We are constantly monitoring the halls. We act on any kind of student report that might indicate there are threats. We have an alternative school for students who learn best there. We have the right for expulsion, should that be the best route or the only route to take. We have access to state mental health resources, both within the school and to send our students to them. We have social workers. The mental health will do consulting. And we have, in the past few years, really looked at strengthening our behavior and behavior modification programs that will specifically address the needs of those children with more challenges.
Sarah, and I might add to that, you mentioned the social workers and the counselors working with the students. That's an area I think that we really are going to have to, develop more and get more personnel in, because there's so many mental health issues out there, and they really need help, and they need to be, hit now, not let go.
But underscore that has not been something we've overlooked. Sometimes we have some difficulty finding those qualified persons who will come into our building and offer that service. That door is always open to adding and including additional mental health counselors.
Yes.
I would say that Franklin County, excellent. Good job. That we may be representative of some counties in the rural area, in rural Tennessee, maybe has similar things. What I wonder, and I don't know, is I think the one person I talked to had a grandchild in I think Memphis or Nashville there that felt like the public school was really unsafe, and I wonder they may have more metropolitan and urban problems than we do, but these measures that we're doing here, I mean, they likely are. Maybe if they were funded better, they could do more, especially with, counselors and working with children that have families that maybe aren't involved or have family issues at home, and that can go across any economic level. Sure. It may be somebody without heat, and it may be someone whose parents are going through a divorce and are affecting their ability to learn and concentrate in schools. And certainly lunch and meal programs, assistance with lunch, and I think sometimes breakfast. If you're hungry, you can't learn.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So, why is this being pushed so hard? Why are private school vouchers being pushed so hard? Who benefits from these vouchers? I don't think it's the middle class, working, poor, marginalized students at all.
And I think if we look at the data and look at what we can find, and when we research, again, the largest percentage of the recipients of these vouchers will be among families who were already choosing private education for their children or their family.
I think I read somewhere 85%.
85% is a number that I've seen. Yep. So who benefits are people who were already paying for private school.
And, we're saying half of them are people that have no income limit. So I'm not sure why they need an extra $5,700 that goes to the school. So the school is benefiting, and then the family that it's not a strain to pay that. I guess they just get a little extra money. in their pockets.
Exactly.
Now, if you've got, I think if you lowered that to 40,000, well, I guess there'd be a lot of vouchers that wouldn't be used because they couldn't afford the remaining tuition.
If a family with with an income of $40,000 a year would have to look for other sources to help
There's no way.
send a
There's no
child
way.
to private
So
school.
then they wouldn't use a voucher, and we wouldn't really have a voucher program. So that's one interesting aspect of it. This has been kind of in the news since I read 2019. And I think there was some hanky-panky going on with trying to get the votes for that, and they eventually were able to get, the pilot and now this. And then, in the meantime, we've had some a controversy over a private school principal or owner coming in and insulting the teachers of Tennessee. Do y'all remember that?
I remember that.
Oh, yes, we do remember that.
And there are private schools, we know this too from national news, that specialize, they're for-profit education packages. These, Governor Lee has been shopping around, confident that this was going to pass. And so you pay big bucks for these people to come in and run your schools. And who benefits from that? I think I'm going to stick my neck out here and say people from the state, and those people that don't live here, don't know us, don't care about us like we do.
A lot of the money to support this campaign, if you want to call it a campaign, has come in from out of state.
Well,
It is
and with
out-of-state
the
money.
elections and trying to get legislators that support this.
Yes, yes. I just want to kind of give a overall view of if this passes, what it's going to cost this year, the first year. The legislature had set, I think, about $144 million aside to take care of this.
146 and a half.
So that was approved. If this passes, the scholarships, 20,000 of those at the $7,075 would be $141.5 million. It's estimated that you can tack a $5 million admin cost on that. So that has to be added in. The teacher bonuses, $2,000. There's roughly 86,000 teachers in the state.
Yeah.
So that's going to be about $172 million right there. And then the school construction and maintenance, they're saying they think $77 million. So when you total all that, if this bill passes, this first year that it's implemented, it could cost $400 million. Actually, $395.5 million. So
it's already costing us
than what they're saying.
Yes. 400 million is the ballpark figure for Tennessee for the first year. And that, of course, means that all of the 20,000 vouchers will be utilized. And, of course, the plan is for it to grow 5,000 a year. And the only figure that you gave us there, Clejo, was the teacher bonus. Wouldn't be a second-year bonus.
No, I think it's going to be a one-time.
It's a one-time bonus. Again, it is put in the bill to influence the votes of the legislators.
Well, what can we do about this, y'all? We've had campaigns to write and call our representatives. Our local Senator and Representative Iris and Janice, we've not heard from. They weren't able to attend the forum. So they have supported this in the past, and just trying to figure out why and what they're thinking is unavailable to us, unless you know those folks personally. Tennessee TN for all, ALL.com, and Public School Strong they're on the internet, but have more information on the Facebook. If you want to express your opinion and your voice, those would be two resources.
And I'm sure we all realize, too, that the governor has called a special session.
Yes, beginning Monday.
The 27th, the beginning on Monday. And I find it a little difficult that it's called in the name of this scholarship program, and disaster relief, which is in East Tennessee, and our immigration status. So that's interesting to me.
Yeah, and I guess everything else gets held up. I mean, some of the real things that we need in Tennessee. If I can just close with a statement about public education, it's a uniquely American creation. The U.S. has had free public education before any other country. And we have this in the Constitution to provide this, so let's get her done. Thank you. Thank you all for listening. This has been Common Sense Matters. I'm Sandy Rice. My guests have been Sarah Lichty and Clejo Walker from the Franklin County School Board. Have a great day.